Hey, Adora. She-Ra comes back this month! Yes! I'm really pumped about that. I'm bummed out that it's gonna be the last season, but oh! I'm so looking forward to it, and there's so much to look forward to. There's gonna be more Scorpia, who is my favorite character in the whole dang thing. All the characters are great. We get to see Bo being neurotic. We get to see what Entrapta is gonna get up to now. We get to figure out how the heck this is all gonna work after the finale at the end of season 4, which that was like a complete reset of status quo. Like, what is gonna happen? And there's a lingering question with one of the characters involved. That being Catra. And the question of, are they going to try and redeem her? And if they do, how? Now, this isn't necessarily meant to be speculative in terms of what I think will or won't be in the show. I don't know. I have no particular insight, and I'm not great at theorizing plot lines. I've done videos explaining why I suck at that. It's just not how my head works. However, I think there are things that can be said about whether or not that's something that they should do at all, and if they're going to do it, are there better or worse ways to go about it? Now, I do want to give some credit here. This video was inspired and sort of spawned out of a video done by the Sin Squad, which I will link in the description. It's a great video. You should watch it, and actually you should subscribe to that channel anyway, because it's really good. So, in that video, they were talking about the idea of redemption in general, with a heavy focus on Catra, but I really want to zero in on that. So, Catra has been a villain since the get-go, but on an escalating scale. Because we started out in Season 1, and she and Adora are in the Horde. Adora leaves the Horde, Catra doesn't leave, she stays in it and feels very bitterly towards Adora. There is an escalation from there on as we realize it's not just her spitefulness towards Adora, like she is really looking to cause Adora massive harm. And even as Scorpia comes in and tries to become friends with her, Catra treats her like garbage. She backstabs Entrapta. She absolutely gets obliterated because of a half second. She thinks she can maybe trust Shadow Weaver, and that doesn't pay off. And eventually, by the end of Season 4, she's even gone against Hordak, all in an effort to be doing as much damage as possible. She practically ended the world at the end of Season 3. Like, that's how far gone she is. So, given that we came from an origin point of her being Adora's friend, combined with the fact that this is ultimately a show for a younger audience, will they try to redeem her basically with the power of friendship? So the first question is, should they be redeeming her at all? And if this wasn't a show for kids, my gut instinct answer to that would be no. No. She has done too much damage, far too deliberately, like knowingly. This isn't a case of she wanted to cause this much damage, but caused this much. No, she's known what she was doing. She may have miscalculated, thinking that what she was doing would make her happy, only to have it isolate her and make her more and more and more miserable as time goes on. But as far as her actions and the consequences on other people, she has been knowingly doing what she has been doing for most of this time, if not the entirety of it. She is really far gone. I'm not sure it's possible to redeem her. But then there is that nagging thing in the back of my head. It is for kids. And also, I've got a bias on this because I watched the show with my daughter. And Catra's her favorite character. And she knows Catra's a bad guy. She has no illusions about that. But I think she kind of wants to see Catra redeemed. Or at the very least, she doesn't want to see Catra die. Although she has told me she thinks that might happen. And I don't know where you go with that. Because while it is a lesson with a certain amount of value to say, look, some people don't get better. Some people, if they can be helped, but you've tried everything that you can think of and it's not helping, you need to stop trying to save them. That's a valuable life lesson. But is it a lesson that should be taught to the age group that this is aimed at? I mean, again, my daughter's 8. Is that a lesson I'm ready for her to learn? Is that a lesson that maybe she would make more sense to her at an older age? I don't know. But it does mean that if they're going to try and redeem Catra, they have to be very careful about how they do that. Here's the worst possible option, I think, in terms of inadvertent negative messaging. I'm going to underline that word, inadvertent. If the show does that, I'm going to talk about the bad implications of that, but I'm also going to say I do not believe that even if the show does this, that it will be their intent to have these implications. If Catra is redeemed to the point that she is basically friends with really any of the people who she stabbed in the back, whether it be Scorpia, Adora, and Trapta, if she reconnects firmly, like in a way that is meant to be a happy ending with any or all 3 of those, that's the worst option. Because that gives the message of somebody was abusive repeatedly. You tried to help. You gave them a chance to change. They didn't. You walked away, which was the right thing to do, which is what the show has done, especially with Scorpia in the previous season, because when Scorpia walked away from Catra, that was framed as the best thing she could have done under the circumstances. All of that, exactly what it should be. To then have it come back ultimately as, but don't give up altogether, maybe they'll still be okay at some point in the future. While I may have questioned the idea of teaching younger children, sometimes you cannot save people, is a harsh lesson to learn, that's better than this, because this would actually be, I feel, actively dangerous. Because the whole idea of, well, don't give up. They're your friend. You have to keep trying. No. Sometimes, whether it's friends or family, sometimes somebody is so abusive or so bad for you or so unwilling or unable to change their behavior that you need to walk away. And you need to know how to process that and be okay with that and not be having one eye out going, waiting for them to get better so that you can then go back. Because that's how abusive cycles get going. So that would be the absolute worst case scenario. Does that mean I think it's impossible to redeem Catra? No. I think there's 2 ways that they could redeem Catra. I think if they're going to try to redeem her, the easier way, and I would find to be the less interesting way, it would work, but it would feel for me a little cheap, but that would be for her to basically self-sacrifice. So the reason that first thing that I said would be the worst possible option is because it just sets her up to completely mess with people like Adora and Scorpia and Entrapta all over again. So what we can't have is ending with her in a position where she can hurt these people in the same way again. So what you can do is you can have redemption through self-sacrifice that results in her death. Something happens with Horde Prime and she, I don't know if it would be literally her throwing herself in front of the bullet meant for someone like Adora or Scorpia and taking that instead, but something being effectively that would function as a redemption narrative that would not be as harmful. I do think that would be kind of lazy, though, because the thing about redeeming someone that way is it allows them to have redemption without having to actually put in the work involved to become a better person. Because they're dead. They don't have to improve. They went out on the moment they did something better, but proper redemption, real redemption in life, making up for your mistakes is an ongoing project. Because if your habits and your patterns involve abuse, then you need to live your life without falling back into those habits and patterns. And that's work. That's long-term work. And redemption, that's part of why I don't like redemption through death. Because in many ways, it's the easy way out. Because you don't have to face the long-term consequences of what you did and how much work you're going to have to do to fix it. Instead, you just get redeemed because you're dead. Again, better than that first option. I don't love it, though. Here's what I would like to see, effectively, if they are going to try and redeem her. Because this, from my way of thinking, this sort of thing is what would work. And I would be okay with. And I don't think would have the problems of the other two that I mentioned. Now, again, this is broad strokes I'm talking about. But if they have Catra turn against Horde Prime, that'll have to be a component any direction you go. Have her recognize what she's done to people like Adora, apologize to Adora, Scorpia, and Trapta, everybody, not ask for forgiveness, or if she asked to be told, I don't know if you can have that, and to accept that answer, and then to leave with someone other than these other characters that I've been mentioning to build a new life somewhere else with a new person and a clean slate so that it's not just going to fall back into the same repeated patterns of abuse. Who would this new person be? I don't know. Could feasibly be a new character. I don't think someone like Double Trouble works because Double Trouble is too much of a sort of a black hole in terms of morality or whatever. I suppose, you know who it could be? It could be Lonnie. It could be Kyle. It could be Rogelio. It could be that trio. Because yes, abusive towards them, but in the manner of a commanding officer. She hasn't manipulated and twisted the knife into those three the way that she has with Adora, Scorpia, and Trapta, because the people who you can hurt the most are the people you're the closest to, and she was never that close to Lonnie, Kyle, and Rogelio. But if she ends the show with them, you know, basically leaving with them to try and start some other life, understanding that she has work to do and she needs to try and change, but she's doing it with new people that she can start from as clean a place as possible with and build new patterns. Because as much as if you've screwed up, you want forgiveness and you want to go back to the life you had from before, part of getting better is recognizing that certain circumstances and being around certain people is going to slip you back into certain habits. So she can't be around Adora, Scorpia, and Trapta, the rebellion. Because even if they end the show at a "and we're all friends now" moment, I won't be able to bring myself to believe she'll be able to hold that. But if she goes off with that trio, with Lonnie, Kyle, and Rogelio, knowing that someone like Lonnie will call Catra out when she starts slipping, that someone like Kyle will, you know, be encouraging, that someone like Rogelio will just give the best side eye as needed. That situation I could believe she could leave and go into, and maybe, with work, she'll get better. And that sort of scenario would be the way that I think would be the best and possibly the only way, really, to properly redeem Catra. That's assuming they try and redeem her at all. Because maybe they won't, although that would be a little dark for a kid's show. We'll find out in a couple weeks. What are your thoughts on Catra? Should she be redeemed? Can she be redeemed? What are your thoughts on what I floated as to the best way to do it? Whatever your thoughts are, detailed or broad stroke notions like what I've had, drop something down in the comments and let's talk about it. Usual stuff to do. Like, subscribe. I've got a Patreon. All those wonderful and helpful things, but also you don't have to do any of it. Because at the end of the day, you are the council. I just run the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.